We've Lost Our Center by Cindy Gomez-Schempp. The country is poised to pass immigration reform policy that has previously been possible in the last two administrations, despite the fact that President Bush Jr. started campaigning for comprehensive immigration reform when I was still in college. Something has happened in America. Latinos have watched as both Bush and Obama ratcheted up Border Patrol and immigration enforcement policies with the Secure Communities program, the passage of Arizona and many other states' SB 1070 type bills. We've heard and felt the racist rhetoric in the news and watched raid after raid. We've seen thousands of Mexicans across the country dismissed from their jobs. We know nearly 250,000 Mexicans are being detained each year and deported. More during Obama's presidency than during Bush's, if you can believe that. And we've watched the private prison industry and the politicians who instituted the laws to allow the private prison complex to begin line the pockets of the wealthy, off the bodies of Mexican people. We've watched dreamers, young undocumented Mexicans, trying to get an education and stay in the only country they know as home, have their hopes rise and be dashed time and time again. Currently, the battle is happening in Minnesota, and Representative Ben Leen has a key vote on the DREAM Act, too, which would make citizenship a possibility for many young Mexicans. Those interested in urging him to make a difference for dreamers can contact him. And although movement change and policy change are sweeping the country where Mexicans are concerned, in Moorhead, Minnesota, there's nothing coming from Centro Cultural, the Mexican Cultural Center. Our hard-fought Mexican Community Center has been hijacked. It doesn't have programming. There's no voice of leadership coming from it. There's no leadership development coming out of it. People who've approached the board to do outreach, programming, provide services for Mexicans and their development have been kicked out, denied, or like me, simply ignored. We have a serious problem if our only Mexican Community Center is not doing anything for Mexicans in this community. Especially if you consider that Centro Cultural, with the help of People Escaping Poverty Project mentor Duke Gomez-Schempp, helped secure funding for the organization precisely to develop leadership activities and programming in the Mexican community. And that funding came through, big time. In fact, it's been some of the largest funding awards received by the organization in nearly a decade or more. And how much? Well, with 2011's Bremer funding alone, the organization would receive $120,000 over a 3-year period. Why, then, is the organization lacking a director? And why has there never again been a Mexican director since the founding Mexican director? We need answers. Many of you will recall that Octavio Gomez and myself did visioning work at a series of power dinner meetings from 2008 to 2010, when Nelson Lozano was leaving Centro as director to return to Argentina. He wanted the leadership of the organization to be in the hands of Mexicans. He also wanted them to create a vision for what they wanted their center to do. And the community came together to do just that. The work was remarkable and detailed in its scope. The Mexican community identified 5 areas of work that they wanted Centro Cultural to do: education, discrimination, economic development, access issues in housing, jobs, services, and grants, and cultural competence. The community also suggested project work and solutions that they wanted Centro to focus on. The public was gathered together and the results were unveiled. The recruitment of new board members began. I personally recruited several of Centro's new board members. The results of that work, along with Duke's mentorship, were provided to the new director, Raul Papo Fernandez. However, none were implemented. Every person I recruited to the board eventually came to me frustrated, and others who I had not recruited, at the lack of direction and programming at Centro, and eventually they quit the board. But not before attempts were made by myself and board members who quit to hold the board accountable to the mandate of the Mexican people of this community. The report of the community was presented to Raul Fernandez on more than one occasion. Despite this, there was no response from the board or the director. Eventually, Mr. Fernandez summarily disappeared from the community, and there was no announcement from the board as to his leaving or about new leadership. An interim director position opened, and Centro was opened for limited use again. People, upset about the running of Centro, frequently called to beg me, though I have never been on the board, to open the Centro when they had scheduled events and no one was there at the agreed upon times. This occurred numerous times. I also received angry reports of programming for Mexicans being canceled and or complaints that the only programming available was not what the community had requested or envisioned. Service learning students from NDSU I spoke to said that after-school programming they were providing at Centro was not Mexican culture centered, nor did it primarily serve Mexicans. It's hard to know who's at the helm of Centro these days. All attempts by myself and others to bring programming for Mexicans, use Centro as a facility to hold meetings, trainings, and events, or otherwise discuss the report of the community vision for Centro's work, have been stalled or ignored by the board to this point. Meanwhile, some of the most important policy, politics, and social movement changes in Mexican American history are happening all around us. And we have no base of operation to speak from, to meet at, to develop our voices and our leaders, as the people decided that they wanted 3 years ago. As a community, we're left believing this is a result of apathy, but that's not true. It is a result of inactive leadership. We do not have to be silent or apathetic to this occupation of do-nothingness. Check out the stagnant Facebook page for Centro. What about their stagnant website? Not a post, not an email, not a tweet. No programs, no vision, no message to a people in need of leadership. When was the last time they said anything about Mexicans anywhere? If you can't think of a thing, you're not alone. The silence is deafening. Recently, I've been inspired by the indigenous Idle No More movement, and I believe it's time we took back our Centro. Our center is our balance. It's our place in this community, and it should be ours again. We have a right to hold the leadership of Centro accountable to the Mexican people of the community whom they're supposed to serve. Cinco de Mayo in Mexico marks the day that Mexicans defeated the French and threw their oppressors out of the country. This Cinco de Mayo, we have our own battle to wage for our community. We're going to occupy our Centro in protest. Be there with me to take back our community center and demand the programming and leadership that the people of this community have been asking for. Meet us outside of Centro Cultural at 4:30 with signs, Mexican flags, and your passion. May God bless you.